any company who is above 10 crores, they were supposed to collect TCS while they are making a sale. Now they have introduced that, and the obligation is passed on to the buyer. So if a buyer who is having a turnover about 10 crores, point number one. Point number two, if he is making a purchase which is above 50 lakh. So if he is going to make a purchase which is above 50 lakh from the supplier, then he is under the obligation to deduct TDS. Okay. And while he deduct TDS, the seller is not supposed to do anything because the TDS is the first obligation and seller is not supposed to collect TCS. Okay. There are only two exceptions. One exception is that in case if that transaction, so for example, it is a work contract transaction where there is a supply and there is a service. And if the TDS is already deducted, in that particular case, the buyer is not supposed to again deduct TDS, which is very natural. Point number two is that in case if suppose there is any TCS collected under other provisions, not under the provision which was introduced last year, but under any other provisions, if the TCS is already collected, then here he is not supposed to again deduct TDS. Okay. Now let's suppose a case where both are applicable. So there is a TDS also applicable casted on the buyer. At the same time, TCS is also applicable, which was introduced last year. TCS is also applicable on seller. In that case, what should happen? So the law is saying that in that case, buyer is supposed to deduct TDS and seller is not supposed to collect TCS. Okay. Now, what will be the rate? So rate will be 0.1% in either of the situation. But in case if there is no PAN number available, then in that particular case, TDS will be deducted at 5%. Okay, please mind this point. TDS will be deducted at 5%, but TCS continues to be deducted at 1%. So that is the difference which one need to keep in mind. Now in this situation, how do we apply it? How do we implement? So while I was thinking on implementation of this, one thought which came to me is that first thing what I'm supposed to do is I'm supposed to check with my customers. Okay, who to whom sale is above 50 lakhs, because they are going becoming purchasers. So I'll check with them who are the customers for this from whom basically there is going to be a sale above 50 lakh to which I'm going to make. So whatever sale which is above 50 lakh, to those customers I can check whether they are under the obligation to deduct TDS, because if their turnover is also about 10 crores, then they are under the obligation and therefore they are supposed to deduct TDS. Then I am not supposed to collect TCS. Only to the customers who are not under the obligation and they are still purchasing from me, there I am supposed to collect the TCS. That is step number one. Step number two, basically to inform my suppliers, okay, from whom we purchase above 50 lakhs. So from whomever I'm purchasing it, and if the purchase is above 50 lakh, I am supposed to inform them that I am under the obligation to deduct TDS. So please, you don't collect TCS because otherwise there is a blockage of working capital. So I'll deduct TDS, you don't deduct TCS. That is how the communication can happen. And third important thing is, if everybody have their GST number, of course it is attached with PAN, and therefore we are rest assured that the PAN is available. But in case if not, then we have to check with them that whether you have PAN, because if they have PAN, then the rates will be 0.1% and it won't be 5 or 1%, right? So this is the something which I thought this can be used as a part of the implementation program. Note to be noted, it is applicable from July 21. Okay, so that's one thing which needs to be kept in mind. I have taken this particular chart for the purpose of discussion. Uh, and of course, this chart I have also seen, it is also available on social media. So the chart is basically trying to say that, let's say if suppose in the first situation, okay, the first component, first portions is for the buyer and the second portion is for the seller. So let's say if the seller turnover is 8 crores, buyer turnover is 13 crores, and if the purchase is above 50 lakh of rupees, then the taxable value is 6 lakhs, because 50 lakh, till 50 lakhs there is no TDS required. It is above 50 lakhs TDS is applicable. So it is 6 lakhs rupees. Then in that case PAN is available. So one of the place PAN is available, because here the buyer's limit is above 10 crores, and because he is purchasing above 50 lakhs, therefore he is under the obligation, and therefore he'll deduct 0.1%. I am not supposed to collect anything. Okay. Now I go to a second situation where my turnover is about 10 crores, buyer's turnover is also about 10 crores, and he is making a purchase above 50 lakh. Then still, since he is making a purchase above 50 lakhs, buyer is liable to deduct TDS, and therefore he will deduct TDS under 0.1%, and I am not supposed to deduct anything. Now I am going to the third situation. I'm below 10 crores. Buyer is above 10 crores. He is also making a purchase above 50 lakhs. So on 4 lakh, he is supposed to deduct TDS, because he is complying to both the condition. First condition, because he is above 10 crores, and second condition, he is making purchase above 50 lakhs from me. In that particular case, because the PAN number is not available, it is going to be 5%. Now I am going to the seller side. 13 crore is the seller's turnover, 9 crore is buyer's turnover. Therefore, even if it is 50 lakh, above 50 lakh, he is not under the obligation, because his turnover limit is below 10 crores, and therefore I am supposed to collect TCS at 0.1%. And same is the second situation, but the rate is 1%, because both of them does not have PAN number. So this is short summary of it. And I have discussed about how the implementation can happen. Now, I also will take this point as a part of the discussion. It says that in case, to summarize this point, first I'll just tell you what is the provision. The provision is saying that in case if on any deduction, okay, if the buyer, if the supplier or vendor does have not filed their returns, okay, basically for 2 years they have not filed their returns. In that particular case, the rate of tax, either in TDS or in TCS, in either of the situation, the rate of tax will be twice of the rate applicable, or 5%, whichever is higher. So if it is 10%, it will be 20%. If it is 1%, then it will be twice is 2%, but then higher rate is 5%. Therefore, 5% will be considered. The point is that we have to check whether they have filed their return in the period of 2 years. Have they filed their return? And if not, whether the time limit have got expired. Yes, in that particular case this provision will come into picture. Also, one more important condition is that the total quantum of the amount should be above 50,000. So in each year, if it is below 50,000, then this provision does not get triggered. If it is above 50,000, then this provision gets triggered. So the point to be noted is that he should not be a small payer. He should be at least having a liability above 50,000 rupees. Now, of course, the question arises: how do we know as a deductor that whether he is non-filer? So, what I understand is that there will be a mechanism which will come out as a part of the portal, where you would be able to check through PAN number whether the returns are filed or not filed. So, as a part of cross check, we can always see that whether he is a filer or he is not a filer. So, I think that should be something which will be coming out as a part of near future, and we will be able to see that particular thing. So, through that mechanism, we will be able to know that who is a non filer, and accordingly, the provision will apply. And of course, this provision is also applicable from July. So, that is one.